people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this. We now know a little bit more about Taylor Robertson's upcoming fight via Premier Boxing AU in Australia. Taylor Robertson returns in her biggest fight to date against Gloria Gallardo, hunting her first world title. Taylor is ready to become Australia's next world champion. Gloria Gallardo will look to take this world championship opportunity with both hands in what is set to be the toughest challenge of Taylor's career. And having had a look at Gloria Gallardo, I don't think they're just selling it. I don't think they're exaggerating. Via Premier Boxing AU, no relation to Premier Boxing Champions here in America. Premier Boxing AU is powered by Ace Boxing Group, an Australian-based outfit that states the reality of free-to-air TV is settling in for Taylor Robertson. With all the qualities of a superstar, Channel 7 will now be the launch pad for Taylor Robertson's IBO world title fight as she faces Gloria Gallardo, who sports a professional record of 14 wins with 2 losses, 2 draws, 6 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 18 professional bouts from Mexico. To Taylor Robertson, who's less experienced, sporting a professional record of 9 wins with 1 loss, no draws, 2 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 10 professional bouts. That lone defeat came at the hands of her countrywoman, Shotgun Shannon O'Connell, several fights ago. An aggressive customer. Very experienced. More experienced than Taylor Robertson, kind of like how Gloria Gallardo is more experienced than Taylor Robertson, though not as talented, not having as high a ceiling. Still a handful. Get the sense that she will be for Taylor Robertson, who's currently on a 6-fight winning streak after having suffered her first professional loss to Shannon O'Connell way back there in October of 2021. Taylor rebounded off that loss that same year. She didn't waste any time, and she's currently on a 6-fight winning streak, set to make her Premier Boxing AU debut on Channel 7, what appears to be a terrestrial network. And the virtue of boxing on a terrestrial network, exposure. Boxing on Channel 7 in Australia is to a boxer what boxing on, say, a Channel 4, a Channel 5, a Channel 7 is here in America. It's a terrestrial network that reaches that many more homes as opposed to a premium cable network or a streaming app. While streaming apps are all the rage these days, terrestrial networks, the virtue of them is they are immediately accessible to that many more people. Another indicator of the bubbling boxing scene down there in Australia that is growing and producing more talented fighters than they ever did in previous eras of the sport. It's a bubbling market. It's a thriving market. Where Taylor Robertson looks to make a splash opposite the ring, Gloria Gallardo very soon. Gloria, who saw action not once, not twice, but thrice last year. She had 3 fights last year. No ring rust. She won't have any going into this fight, having last seen action late last year in December opposite the ring, Dana Rivera, in what was ruled a no contest. This fight against Taylor Robertson scheduled for 10 rounds in the women's super flyweight division for what is the IBO title. They said this might be Taylor Robertson's toughest fight to date, and I don't think they were exaggerating. I don't think they were overselling it. Having had a look at Gloria, she's not a finesse fighter like Taylor Robertson. She's not as polished a boxer as Taylor is, but she has all the ingredients to give a fighter like Taylor Robertson problems. To give Taylor Robertson problems. It's these kinds of aggressive fighters, take one to give one kind of fighters that can make for a difficult fight, a difficult night for a cerebral fighter like a Taylor Robertson. Gloria's got more fights than Taylor. More fights is more rounds in the bank than Taylor. More power, too. I think she's got more power. I think in terms of single punching power, Gloria has more of that than Taylor Robertson.
Combinations.
She is a combination puncher. She does like to throw punches in bunches mid-range to inside, and while she is hittable, while her defense is leaky,
You don't want to sit in the pocket with her for too long.
even if you can touch her with a couple of shots, you don't trade with this one. Think Carla Zamora versus Jessica Kamara, and what happened there. To the eye, Jessica was the more polished boxer of the two, but not the more rough and tumble fighter, and not the stronger puncher. It's that dichotomy.
So how should Taylor fight her?
How does she win? She's got to keep her head on a swivel, her torso at a swivel. She's got to play at the angles, slip and hook, slip and counter.
Roll and counter.
2 and 3 punches at a time, staying on her toes, moving around, alternating between offense and defenses. Too much of either one could get her in trouble. Too much defense and you'll end up getting bullied. You'll end up getting outworked. Too much offense.
She might get clipped.
This girl can punch. First impressions. This fight might actually be harder than the Shannon O'Connell fight, well over a year ago for Taylor Robertson.
I don't get the sense this is going to be easy.
It's my first impression. This might turn out to be a rough fight for young Taylor because she's got a lot of skills and a lot of tools, but power.
Not big on power, and without that, how do you keep this girl off of you?
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, a look at the men's middleweight division where Janibek Alimkhanalai has called out both Jermall Charlo and Erislandy Lara, saying, will they find an excuse not to fight? And they most certainly have already. They most certainly will. Jermall Charlo sat out for 2.5 years without defending the WBC title, only so that when he comes back not as a middleweight, but a super middleweight.
And the WBC still haven't stripped him.
Who will agree to fight with me? Lara or Charlo, questioned Alimkhanalai on his social media account, or will they both find an excuse not to fight?
It seems like they already have. Jermall Charlo likely still will.
Really wouldn't be the end of the world if the World Boxing Council would do their fucking job instead of manufacturing titles like the franchise belt, carving out lanes for unnecessary divisions like the Bridger weight division, and recommending that they use not three judges, but 6.
6 judges for the Fury versus Usyk fight.
The World Boxing Council seems focused on everything except the job that they're supposed to do. It's a big part of the reason that the middleweight division has lost so much traction, so much steam in recent years. And that's why, in spite of all Janibek's call-outs, he's barking up the wrong tree. He's not going to get that Charlo fight.
The most that we can hope for is that Charlo is eventually stripped of the title, or he willfully vacates it and it goes to Carlos, and maybe he'll fight Janibek.
Facing anyone other than himself is a head-scratcher for Alimkhanalai from his point of view. Once a fighter grabs a world title, a certain obligation is placed on his shoulders. Number 1 would be to face whoever else is in possession of one of the other golden trinkets. A champion must fight a champion. I want all the titles in my division.
He's not going to get Jermall.
Maybe he'll have better luck with Erislandy Lara, who's set to be defending his WBA title very soon against his mandatory challenger, Michael Zarafa.
On the undercard of Thurman versus Zoe.
That guy's getting up there in age. I think he's in his early 40s. If he stays WBA champion, I feel like the most money that he can make at this weight would be opposite the ring Janibek Alimkhanalai, because I don't imagine they broke the bank for the Zarafa fight.
How much could they really be paying him to fight that guy?
Though we have to see what shakes out. Yet another potential opponent option for Janibek Alimkhanalai is the United Kingdom's own Hamza Sheeraz. Least according to Frank Warren, no hesitation in matching Hamza Sheeraz against Janibek Alimkhanalai.
Oh, really?
In an article that Frank Warren wrote himself for Boxing Scene, where do we go from here? Well, Hamza will now get ready for Ramadan, which gives us a window to plot his next move, and as I commentated on Saturday, he is off the leash now. There are some good options out there, but some of those might not be so keen right now. Personally, wouldn't have any hesitation over matching Hamza with Janibek Alimkhanalai, the Kazakh southpaw who holds 2 alphabet titles. He says nobody wants to fight him, so we have now got someone for him. Is he up for it? We will see what transpires and take it from there.
Hamza has real possibilities in terms of becoming a marquee attraction domestically in the United Kingdom. He's got real possibilities, this kid. He stopped Liam Williams in just 1 round a few weeks ago.
Sporting a professional record of 19 wins with no losses, no draws, 15 knockouts.
6'3" at 160 pounds. He's big for the weight. Very big.
Very strong, he can punch, but is knocking out Liam Williams in 1 round. Does that really mean that Hamza Sheeraz is ready for the likes of a Janibek Alimkhanalai? According to Frank Warren, he says he is. He thinks he's ready, but he's going to say that. He promotes him.
What do you expect him to say?
My expectation is that before we see Hamza Sheeraz in the ring with the likes of a Janibek Alimkhanalai, we might see him in the ring with a Denzel Bentley, or maybe Nathan Heaney, who just beat Denzel Bentley in his last fight.
They said that Hamza is currently ranked at number 1 by way of the WBO. Janibek Alimkhanalai, he is WBO champion.
But it would be counterintuitive to put Hamza in there with Janibek Alimkhanalai on this kind of notice, on this kind of schedule. Believe it or not, Hamza Sheeraz has more earning potential than Janibek Alimkhanalai. In spite of Janibek being a unified champion at this weight, it doesn't really make him that big of a draw.
You know who they had in mind when they signed him.
He's an aggressive guy, he's a puncher, he's from Kazakhstan. They likely figured this is like a southpaw Gennady Golovkin, but he really doesn't have Gennady's electricity.
He's a good fighter. I'm not saying he's not a good fighter, and he is fun to watch in spots, but he's not Gennady.
He's a unified champion who is facing a scarcity of opponents, and in spite of what Frank Warren is saying, he's saying he would be willing to put Hamza in there with Janibek. I don't really believe him.
I don't think he's gonna do that just yet.
That's not me advocating against the fight so much as forecasting what I expect to happen within the next calendar year. And I don't think knocking out Liam Williams in one round means that he's ready for the big boys, ready for the big stage against somebody like a Janibek Alimkhanalai. This guy's got serious potential, not just inside the ring, but outside of it. The following that he could amass.
Not advocating against the fight. If Frank wants to do it, he can do it.
Now watch it. I think it's a good fight between two unbeaten guys. Unbeaten champion versus unbeaten challenger. But like I said, based on the earning potential that Hamza could amass, I don't think Frank is just gonna throw caution to the wind like that.
It's just not the way these things are done.
That's not the way things are done unless you're supremely confident that your fighter can win that fight. And I think Hamza's good. I think he has potential, but I don't look at his resume and see.
I don't look at his resume and become overly confident based on who he's fought so far. Those eggs need more bacon.
Most recognizable guy he's been in there with is Liam Williams.
I don't begrudge him that, I'm just saying.
I'm not convinced Frank is just going to throw him in there with Janibek straight away. I'm convinced that we'll see 1 to 2 to maybe even 3 more fights before Frank does a fight like that. It can happen. Hell, I think it would be better for the division, better for the middleweight division, if Hamza were to beat Janibek Alimkhanalai, because I'm sorry to say,
Janibek is not Gennady.
Doesn't have that same electricity. Here in America, where he's based out of, he's not a draw. He may be a unified champion, but
he's not a draw.
Hypothetically speaking, if Hamza were to fight him when he's ready, and he were to beat him, that would bring a lot more money to the middleweight division than if Janibek keeps those belts.
But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, and we're not there yet.
Cool story. It's happening right now.
Cool story.
You reckon El Heyman doesn't want $100 million guaranteed fight with Benavidez in-house? You reckon he doesn't want that? You reckon he's an idiot? Yeah. So stop saying he didn't offer Benavidez. Canelo never interested.
You're going. Bro, we can't listen to idiots like that. I'm sorry. You know, you guys want me to be respectful. The J. Billies, you asked me to be better, C-Dubs, but this is what I'm saying. We can't have a conversation with people that are not on that level.
That was Australia's own Johnny Thunder. Big David Benavidez fan who sometimes frequents this channel during live streams. Johnny Thunder when he's on the Boxing Voice, Mirage when he's on Ring IQ. Doing what he normally does, advocating for David Benavidez to get the Canelo Alvarez fight, not realizing, pestering everyone.
Doesn't change David's circumstances. This video's not about Canelo.
But we know what's going on. Al Heyman's PBC are reportedly ready to pay Canelo Alvarez's guaranteed purse said to be around $35 million for a fight versus Jaime Munguia. Not David Benavidez on May 4th.
Not David?
But not if Canelo insists on Jermall Charlo. It's claimed the PBC believe the fight with Munguia would sell better. And I reiterate, this video is not about Canelo. It's not about that. It's about David. It's about how David is lost in the fog, in the thick of all of this?
The WBC recently stated they will officially install him as Canelo's mandatory challenger next month.
Which begs the question, if he wasn't the mandatory already, what has he been the whole time? I thought the Lemieux fight was the fight that made him the mandatory.
Or was that just the fight that made him interim champion?
Or is it just that the WBC is giving David the runaround in front of everyone? They're giving him the runaround the same way they gave Kenya Enriquez the runaround with Yesenia Gomez.
The same way they gave Dillian White the runaround with Deontay Wilder.
The same way they're giving Carlos Adames the runaround with Jermall Charlo. Same way they're giving David Benavidez the runaround. When it comes to Canelo, did David Benavidez think he was immune?
Does he not understand that the WBC's been kissing Canelo's ass for years now, ever since they tried to impose a deadline on him for the Golovkin fight? He told them they can take their belt and they can stick it up their ass. They've been playing nice ever since, and they're not going to prioritize your relationship with them
over their relationship with him. Is David not aware? Even if he isn't, surely Samson Lukowicz is. He's been in this business long enough that he should be able to understand that.
To stop wasting time.
So that when the Benavidez cult, the Benavidez faction of fans, that small rabble of individuals get all in their tits because David can't have his way, he can't seem to get Canelo Alvarez.
You were trusting the WBC to do their job.
What good do you think you're doing, calling into podcast after podcast after podcast, complaining about the same thing when it doesn't change David's circumstances? Only David can change his circumstances.
But the WBC should this, and Canelo should that.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. If my aunt had a dick, she'd be my uncle. You can't idealize situations in the sport of boxing where things are seldom ever ideal. It's like if I tell you, don't go down a dangerous neighborhood because you might get mugged. And you tell me, well, that's not right. And I shouldn't get mugged. And it should be safe for me to walk down the street.
Yeah, perhaps it should, but that don't change your current circumstances now, does it? You go down that neighborhood, you're fucked.
David Benavidez, you went the WBC route, thinking they were going to prioritize you over Canelo. Now you're fucked. Because he might fight Jaime, and he might not. He might fight Jermall, and he might not. But none of them.
And none of that helps you.
So what am I getting at? What I've been telling you. The Canelo or nobody strategy. It's Canelo or bust. It doesn't work because you ain't got no leverage over that guy, and he's not strapped for cash. He doesn't need you to get at a big place. He established years ago in 2016 that he's not subject to what the sanctioning bodies want. He won't hesitate to tell them to go fuck themselves at the drop of a hat.
They need his sanctioning fees more than he needs their belt.
Thus, entrusting in them to put pressure on him on your behalf is folly.
Then what should he do?
Move up and wait. Target the winner of Better B versus B-Vol. Carve out your own lane. Create your own legacy instead of chasing around Canelo.
So that his fans will finance your biggest price?
Create your own marquee value. Create your own fans, and you're not going to do that sitting on your hands, playing it safe.
His fans.
The few that he has, you're not going to help his situation by pestering everybody with your complaints. He's the only one who can help his situation.